This is Canada Reads American Style, featuring two friends who love Canada Reads and Canadian literature. Welcome our host Rebecca from Michigan and Tara from Ontario.
Hi, everyone. It is Rebecca and Tara, and we are here to talk about Day 3 and Day 4 of Canada Reads 2023 because we did experience a minor glitch that kind of threw us off. And so we are doing that now. So, anyway, I'm going to go ahead and let Tara kind of kick us off. We don't have a lot to say about Day 3 because, it was a while ago now. And so we've kind of forgotten it. But anyway, we'll go ahead and start with Day 3.
Okay, yeah, because 'cause I've removed myself from day 3. It's so weird how once the next day happens and a couple days pass, I end up removing myself. But my big takeaway from day 3, the point that I found really interesting for myself, was one of the defenders, I believe it was Keegan, revealed that she had chosen her book before the theme was revealed to them. And I thought that was very interesting, very weird. I find that a really weird thing for CBC to do because I think it could automatically put some books at a disadvantage. I think hers and actually Station 11 were at a disadvantage with not knowing the theme beforehand. But is it just me? I find that weird.
Yeah, no, I thought it was weird too because a lot of us have even said that the themes are kind of weird, odd. They're
Hmm.
they're kind of in many ways sort of similar because really how many themes can you have
Yeah.
where people are going to find books that, are appropriate to that theme.
Hmm.
So it makes sense though now that they have them do that because sometimes the books don't really match the theme. So
Yeah.
and you end up thinking to yourself, well, why did they pick that book for the theme? Well,
Hmm.
now we know.
Yeah. It's odd. Very odd.
Yeah. So, my day 3 observation, I wanted to mention I loved the question about why did you choose your book? And I thought it was fascinating that Matea and Gertie both showed emotion in that moment. And I thought they almost both looked like they got a little teary eyed. And I thought, what a really just a beautiful opportunity for us to hear a really personal reason why they selected the book. I mean, yes, we do hear about it in the debate, but the light was shining on them. Why did you pick that book?
Mhm.
Did you pick up on that? How beautiful that was?
Yeah. Again, I think where I listened on the radio to part of the
Oh,
podcast, and I feel like that may have been that part,
yeah.
I feel like I missed that nuance to their answer, which is a shame. Yeah.
Yeah, I think you're right. I keep forgetting that, a lot of people out there are listening on the radio or they're in their cars or whatever, and that I have I'm lucky to be able to be sitting at home watching it. So, anyway, it was a really beautiful moment because they both actually, I won't say that a tear was shed, but their eyes looked a little watery. And that
Mhm.
just touches my heart because there's nothing better than the fact that literature touches us in so many different ways and to see someone just be so passionate about something they read, that just makes my heart really happy. So I love
Yeah.
that. So, okay, the other comment, and I don't want to get really heavily into this, but I know there was a bit of a controversy with Keegan and her emotional state at the end of episode 3 or day 3. And the fact I will say this, I do think it was really weird that she initially voted off, Station 11,
Mhm.
but then when it was a tiebreaker, she sort of said, "Well, I'm going to follow my heart and go with the book I liked least." And then she said station or, Hotline, and then she got really, really emotional.
Mhm.
So the only thing I want to say about that, because I don't want to get too deep into it, is our good friend Sarah, she and I were talking, and she said, and I'm going to paraphrase Sarah, so sorry about this. I hope I don't butcher it. But basically, the goal here isn't for the defenders to just make it personal and all about them, and that it really is what book should all of Canada read? So
Mhm.
I took, I swear to God, like I hadn't really considered it to that level, and really, I listened to the competition. Many of them will talk about how personal it is and why they could or couldn't read a book or why they did or didn't like a book, and it's almost always a personal component to it. But it is true. At the end of the day, the question immediately to her should have been, "So should all of Canada read Hotline?" You know,
Yeah.
and then just taken her emotion off the table.
Yeah, that's an excellent point that I did not think of.
Yeah.
It's a good point, Sarah, good point.
Yeah, yeah, thank you, Sarah.
Yeah,
I really
yeah,
appreciated that point as well. So, okay, so
yeah.
that's kind of all we want, yeah, because
I
I hate
will
to say, go ahead.
Yeah, sorry, I'm sorry, I'm jumping in here, and I'm based on that, it is really odd how she was so stuck on sticking with the theme and how Station 11 didn't fit the theme. And even on day 4, that was her thing. She was so stuck on this dang theme.
Mhm.
But when she was the pressure was put on her, fluke, the theme went out the window. Like
Yeah,
when she had to make that tie-breaking decision, the theme didn't even enter into it. That's really
exactly.
interesting.
Yeah, it
Yeah,
it was just a personal and emotional response,
yeah.
and, interestingly, with regard to that theme, my question to her would have been, "Well, then why initially did you vote for Station 11 to go off?" Because I sort of thought, is this sort of payback to Michael, for
Mhm.
voting against your book? Because why else would you have said Station 11 and then seconds later say, "Oh, I'm going with my heart and the book I like least." Like, so now I sort of want more explanation behind that, but
Yeah.
uh, we're not going to get that, and that's okay. That's okay too. Let's just
Yep.
let sleeping dogs lie and just move on
Exactly.
from it, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So how about day 4? What did you think of day 4?
Day 4, the day of the debates, because to me, this was a true book debate,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
And I don't know if I'm just like still in this, like, this year's Canada Reads fog, but I don't remember the final day or any day being centered on two defenders so much.
I agree.
And I it was just at one point, it was like Ali wasn't even there. They were doing the job for Ali, like going back and forth with the questions, and it
Yeah.
was beautiful to watch the 2 of them the first maybe 10 minutes or so,
Yeah.
just back and forth. Oh, they were amazing. It was really good.
Yeah. No, I agree, and in fact, I think I might have even texted you and said, it felt like it was a lot longer than an hour, that episode. Like, the
Yeah.
other episodes kinda flew by. All of a sudden, I'd say, "Oh, it's ending now. We have to vote." And this one was just it was just kinda it just felt magical because it was just 2 people
Yeah.
going back and forth, and I almost didn't need the other 3 to comment.
No.
Because I thought to myself, if you think about it, that final episode with how beautifully they debated back and forth, that gives the 3 the opportunity to really hear every argument. You don't have to stop and think about what you wanna say. You don't have
Yep.
to stop and think about how to answer this question. You get to sit back, absorb all the details of everything, and then vote.
Yeah.
So I actually would have been okay even if I mean, I appreciate what they said, but I would have been okay if it was just the 3 of them listening.
Yes. Me too. And I loved it that, like, and Ali was a true moderator, that he was there when he was needed or to move
Mhm.
things on to the next one, but nothing was needed to, like, move them along in their conversation. Like, it just kinda happened organically, and it was a really cool moment.
I think that's a
Yeah.
perfect way of saying that, which is it felt very organic, it
Yeah.
really did, and I do think you're right. Allie did a super job of just sitting there and letting that flow, like, he never interrupted it, he let it go, and it was like a master class in
Mhm.
a book discussion, it really was.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's funny too because, again, last year, I just felt that Mark Tewksbury just took us to another level, and it was just such a brilliant debate overall. But this year, it sort of quietly snuck up on me, and that final episode was just amazing.
Yeah.
Okay, so one of the comments well, one of the trivial things I just wanna say is do you realize that this year we didn't have any of the authors saying what gift they would give to the defenders if they won?
That's right, and you love that part.
Like, my favorite part, and when we interviewed, Matea and Keegan, I we even asked them,
Yes.
"What would you like?" And it's
Yeah.
like, ugh, they didn't even do that, so I just wanted to throw that out there that my heart broke
Yes.
on that.
Yes, I didn't realize that. It's
Yep,
weird that
so
they dropped that off. Hmm,
yeah.
yeah.
So the first comment I wanna make really officially about day 4 is that overall, Michael's opening and his closing
Mhm.
were so poetic.
Yeah.
And I thought, this is a man I have no idea, I didn't look if he's ever written a book, but this is a man who should write because his words were so beautiful, and it was funny because I was thinking to myself and again, yes, I read Station 11 a long time ago, and I did not reread it for the competition, but I thought, I think his words are actually more beautiful than I thought the book was for me.
Mhm.
So, he does command a room and a space and that but then I kept saying to myself, "Remember, he's an actor,
Mhm.
that's his expertise in life," and I thought it was amazing.
Yeah. Me too. The So aside from the opening, my other favorite part was the end, their last chance to argue for their books because Mateo just brought their game. Like you could tell that Matea was a debater. I believe I
Mhm.
just said Mateo. Did I pronounce her name or their name incorrectly? I apologize. Let me go back. That Matea brought their debating game. I loved their style when they went from one defender, like went around the table and said, Tasneem, you said this so eloquently.
Yes.
Bam, this fits ducks. Keegan, you said this. Bam, ducks. And I'm like, look at them go. It was phenomenal. It was just, I think I was driving at that time. And thank goodness no one else was in the car with me because they would think I was insane. But I just went, boom. And I'm like, what the hell am I doing? But it was just such a moment when they finished. And I'm like, wow. And then, so they hit my brain. Like that was just, I'm like, yes, they just defended for ducks and they won it.
Yeah.
Like my brain could not over. Then Michael spoke. And when he was finished, and even throughout, I think like my heart just went twang. And I'm like,
Mhm.
he went for the emotional gut punch. It's phenomenal. So good.
Yeah, and I just wanna say, I did when we interviewed Matea, I did ask her if she had, like, what her pronouns are, and she said she's fine with she, her, or they, them. She prefers they, them.
Yeah.
So I am going to use she, her because I wanna make my point and I'm gonna butcher it back and forth, which I think I already did. I may have done that already on an earlier podcast, which I apologize. So I'm gonna stick with she, her.
Yeah.
So when she did that, when she went to each one of them, she actually turned to each one and kinda put her finger up, I think, or her hand up, and
Yeah.
she was really like, she made eye contact, which was amazing.
Mhm.
And then she even turned to Michael and
Yeah.
said, she did that thing where she's, "Well, I know you're not gonna vote for me anyway," or, whatever. But
Yeah.
she even looked at him, and that was a really compelling moment. It was great television or great YouTube
Mhm.
vision or whatever. That part, I loved that. Thought she was just absolutely brilliant.
Yeah.
And let's see, I wanna see what else. Sorry about that, everybody. I've gotta go through my notes here.
I was gonna say, while you're going through your
Yeah,
notes,
go ahead.
I also love the way Matea uses their hands when
Mhm.
because you always hear that you're not supposed to. I'm a hand talker. My hands go around like crazy. They use their hands, but in such a subtle way. Like I don't know if maybe no one else has noticed, or I'm sure someone has, but it's just like their hand is there,
Mhm.
but it's present. You notice it, but it's not distracting, and the way that they move it is just kind of beautiful. I
Mhm.
loved it. Yep.
It's really kind of unusual, and in fact, it was funny, my mom, who's a big fan of hers, she even said, um, I told her, I said, "Oh, she won." And my mom was like, "Oh, that's fabulous." And
Yeah.
then my mom actually brought it up. She said, "Oh, I love her hands." And I'm thinking,
Oh,
did she do that on Jeopardy, I guess?
okay, so it's not just me.
Yeah, I know. And it's funny because I think it must be on Jeopardy. Maybe they do show their hand. I know they stand behind
Oh,
that
no.
lectern thing. So I didn't know how, but anyway, my mom knew about it. So I was like, well, that's cool because she's
Oh,
a huge fan of Matea's. But yeah.
hmm.
Now I am going to go to a dark place.
Okay.
I do have a massive issue that I
Okay.
want to talk about, and I won't pound it into the ground in detail, but I just want to say this. So on Tuesday, Michael made a comment that I talked about where he said people like adults should know better. And I
Okay.
immediately went into this mode of people from an economic sense that people, go to the oil sands because they need money and they make that choice, blah, blah, blah. And
Yeah.
I said, well, we all are implicit in whatever it is that's happening in the oil sands because we're human and we take part in whatever, all extractive services we take part of in some manner. Afterwards, again, our good friend Sarah said that some people online, which I had not seen this, said that he was referring to Kate as a woman should have known better. And I thought, no, like I can't imagine that he meant that, right? I thought that's
Mhm.
just so not something you would expect anybody to purposefully say in a public forum, right?
Yeah.
So he said it again on the final day. And here I wrote it down. I went back and
Okay.
listened to it and I wrote it
Okay.
down because it just really irked me. So he turned to Matea and he said, "Well, Katie, she leaves after sexual harassment and sexual assault and she goes to Victoria." And then he said, she's there, but then she comes back. And then he says, "Why? Knowing what she knew, why did she go back? To make more money? How does the author build sympathy for a choice that Katie is making now with certain knowledge?"
Mm.
And I went, "Okay, wait a minute. Okay, now," and that was at the beginning of the show. And I'm not kidding you. I saw red. Like that really made me angry. And then I think Matea gave a great answer. She said basically something about, well, it's like office. Sometimes, there's harassment in an office setting, but maybe the person doesn't feel they have they feel that their choices are limited. And I do agree that I'm glad nobody called him out. Nobody did call him out. And I'm glad
No.
they didn't because then that would have been the big issue of the day. And I'm glad that let me rephrase that. I'm glad on some level it wasn't called out because I don't like drama and I don't like conflict publicly that way.
Mhm.
But I will say that I'm really disappointed because I feel like that's what a lot of men say. Why did she do that? She knew what she was getting herself into. And also, it's like, "Oh, so she's not allowed to go and make a living? Once she knows she could be a target, now she just walks away while the men stay and make that great living and she's left out?"
Yeah, she has to go find a
Yeah,
minimum wage job.
exactly.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I didn't give you a heads up that I was gonna talk about that today, but
Mhm.
do you remember that? Did it stand out for you or
I remember it. It did it stand out? No. I felt like with all of his arguments against ducks, I started to wonder if he actually really did enjoy the book. Because the first couple of days he professed how much he loved the book, how it was a great book.
Mhm.
I don't know if he actually really liked it. And it almost seemed to me like his arguments against it were because he didn't like it. Like it's a book that he didn't want to win because he didn't like it,
Yeah.
which is fair enough. But then that you're getting into the whole a book that you don't like personally versus a book that all Canada should read.
Yeah. And I sort of felt like, again, nobody called him out, and I'm
Yeah.
good with that. I mean, I'm happy they didn't make an issue of it, but I'm really curious. I haven't had a chance to go back. I know it's been days later now and that, nobody maybe really cares or whatever. I'll have to search a little bit, but I kind of want to see if there was talk about it online because again, when he said it on Tuesday, I just took it as economic.
Mhm.
And then today I thought, no, that's not economic. That's like saying to her, well, like he said, why, knowing what she knew, why did she go back? And that also, that the author, he said, how does the author build sympathy? And I'm thinking, like, oh, hello. Probably for every woman who read the
Yeah.
book, I'm pretty sure she could probably feel sympathetic or empathetic to, Katie's situation. So,
Yeah.
yeah. Anyway,
Maybe by saying such a thing, he illustrated why this is the book that all of Canada should read.
no, if you go back and
No?
listen to it, I think it's because he didn't understand. I mean, he seemed clear that
Yeah.
he didn't understand why she did it.
Yeah, I know, but maybe that's why other people should read it.
Oh, yeah, yeah,
Do
yeah.
you know what I mean? Like if a certain segment of the population can't understand why a woman still feels the need that she has to go back to or stay with a job where she's getting harassment, then
Yeah,
maybe it is the time to read a book like this to
yeah.
see that perspective.
And my thing is just because she has the right to be there. They don't have the
Yeah,
right to do what they did to her, but she has damn well has the right to be there to earn her living.
yeah.
And yeah, so that kind of anyway, so that kind of bugged me. And like I said, I'm probably forced us to spend more time on it than I should, but I just really wanted to say that.
No, it's fair enough. And I mean, I'm even thinking financially, she's made the trip from Nova Scotia to Alberta. That in
Hmm.
Canada is an expensive flight.
Yeah,
So for just on a whim to leave a good job, even to have the money to go back home if that's what she's going to do, she still needs to get that money to pay for the flight.
yeah.
So it's also an economic reason, which is what it comes down to in the end anyways, as well, right? So, yeah.
So anyway, so that was kind of my take kind of on day 4. I just thought there were so many things that were just so beautiful about the discussion. Like I said, Michael's poetic words at the beginning and at the end. I thought Matea, like you said, pointing out those all like making those points to each of the defenders, that was brilliant. Now, what did you think about did you have any feelings about the vote and how the vote went?
Oh, yes. Well, it was nerve-wracking for
Yeah.
a few moments throughout the show before the vote. I almost thought Keegan had flipped and was going to, because she seemed to there. I think it was the question that she answered when she said that Station 11 was a more layered book or read than Ducks, and I was like, is she flipping? Like all of a sudden, I wasn't sure about how the vote was going to go, but she
Mhm.
didn't flip.
Yeah.
What I loved about the vote was Tasneem having been put on that spot and unapologetically voting off Station 11. Usually, someone, when a defender is put in that position, they get all like, oh, I'm so sorry. I love all the books. I really hate to do this, but someone has to go. I can't. But she was just like, I vote off Station 11. And I just really appreciate it that she just did her job.
You're right, I hadn't
Yeah.
thought about that, but because I was sitting here going like, "Well, I didn't get to hear, like, why?"
Yeah.
She didn't say anything. The other 2
Yep.
sorta said something, and then she just said, "I vote off Station 11," and I
Yep.
thought, "Well, I wanna hear, like, why like, what happened?" Because I will tell you, I didn't think Keegan was gonna flip, but I thought Tasneem was going. I actually thought she was gonna vote off Ducks
Okay.
because I went back and listened, again to the show, and there were just some things that she said and the way she posed the comments that I
Hmm.
thought and okay, I'm gonna be honest with you. So I was sitting at the end after she made some comment, I went, "God damn it." I said, "She's gonna vote off Ducks." I did, and I knew she was gonna be the swing vote. So
Yep.
I was like, "Oh, man, she is," and I shouldn't have said the GD word, sorry about that. Anyway, I really thought she was gonna vote it off, so I have to say, when she said Station 11, for a split second, I went, "Wait a minute, what?" I didn't expect and of course, I'm in my room, I'm, like, clapping my hands, I was really loud, I was so excited, and I was really excited for Matea because yeah, they killed it. I mean, they
Yeah.
just did a super, super,
Yeah.
super job, and they earned everything that they did on behalf of Kate Beaton, so I'm
Yeah.
just, like, so thrilled for Matea and Kate, that was just awesome.
Yeah. It was a good moment. Can I go back pre-vote? I'm going to ask you something now. So
Sure.
in day 3, Keegan brought up the sexual assault. I think it was in day 3, wasn't it? When she mentioned the 4 black panels, but she shooed it away. But she
Yeah.
brought it up again on day
Yeah.
4.
Mhm.
But then she said that she knows that Matea doesn't want the sexual assault to be the focus
The main theme
of
she
the
said, I
main
think.
theme
Yeah.
of Ducks. Did I miss something? Like, I don't know. Did Matea explain that? Or I don't know if I missed something. Do you know what I'm trying to get at here?
Yes, 100% I know what you're saying because
Okay.
even I, when she said that, because I in all my notes, and you and I've talked about this before, I have said, I don't understand why the sexual assault and the harassment hasn't been a bigger theme because
Mhm.
that is actually one of the reasons why I picked Ducks when the shortlist came out. I don't know that has sexual assault or sexual harassment been a truth has been in any of the books in Canada Reads. I didn't think so in the last so many years. I've just been, playing along.
Mhm.
And I thought, hey, it's time for that to come forward because of the whole Me Too movement and everything and more women speaking out. So the fact that this whole competition sort of went along with just barely a nod to like, oh, sexual harassment, sexual assault, kind of said quickly and ignored. When
Mhm.
Keegan said that, and it was interesting because Matea's response was, something like, well, it's not that it's not the main theme, but it is an important theme. But then I thought, well, if it's an important theme, why has it not really been acknowledged? Because
Mhm.
I'll be honest with you, I would have loved to hear what the men had to say about that aspect of the book, and we didn't hear
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
We heard it, Keegan emotional about talking about it. I think that Matea did a brilliant job of just, addressing that when it came up, but I would have loved to have heard what the 2 men had to say about it,
Yeah.
and we
Because
missed out on that.
yeah, yeah, I think it would have been a an interesting conversation
Yeah,
between them.
and let me ask you,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
is that something I mean, I know is that something that comes up on Canadian radio? I know it has to, right? Y'all talk
Yeah.
about all the subjects, right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
what do you think there was, like, a thing that they weren't really supposed to talk about it or something?
I have no idea.
Yeah.
It struck me as really odd because on day 3, when Keegan brought it up, it seemed that she brought it up, but almost regretted bringing it up herself.
Mhm.
So I was like, okay, that makes sense. She brought it up and then she changed her mind that she didn't want to talk about a personal experience because that seemed to be where it was going.
Mhm.
But today she brought it up again and seemed to want to talk about it, like address it. But
Yeah.
it was not to be. It was just odd.
No, I agree. I thought it was odd too. And here's the thing. There was just as much about the sexual harassment and assault as there was about the environmental
Yeah.
degradation, the impact on indigenous lands, the depression of the people that having to economically move and make a living. So why did it get short shrift? Like I
Yes.
don't get that at all. So thanks for bringing that up
Yeah.
because I agree 100%.
Yeah. Because I even feel like that there was, at some point in the book, conversation between Katie and maybe her sister or one of her friends who confided in her that it had happened to her during university, like in first or
Yeah.
second year. And
Mhm.
so there was this realization like they kept it to themselves, but when they finally shared it, they seemed to realize it was a much more common occurrence among women, right? And
Yeah.
so I just, yeah, it's odd.
It's kind of weird because I feel like on some level it's in the news. We hear women talking about it a lot, etc. And I think on the other hand, then we have a situation like this, a national forum in Canada where that is part of the story of that memoir, and yet it really gets no. Yes, you're right. Keegan brought it up twice, and Matea responded to it, but pretty much that wasn't discussed by anybody else really. Now, I
No.
do remember Tasneem one time did say something about the black panels and how, impactful that
Yes.
was. I
Yeah.
do remember that. But again, no one's sort of saying like, this is a theme that is valid and important to women in Canada. And, so I don't
Mhm.
know. It was weird to me. Yeah, so
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't
I
understand that.
don't know.
So, well, let me ask you overall, how do you feel then that this year's competition ranked? How do you feel now that it's over and we have to wait a year
I know.
for it to come back?
I know. I feel like it was kind of a slow burn of a week,
Yeah.
but in the end, it ended so well. Like the day 4 was a great day. Like the defenders really shined. Yeah. So is it one of my favorites? No, I can think of other years I think that were, but you know what? I really enjoyed it. Yeah.
I like that you said it was a slow burn because I think it was for me as well. Because at first I was kind of like, oh, this feels a little like I don't know that this is going to be so wonderful. But again, there were so many aspects to look back and just absolutely love and appreciate what they did. And I
Yeah.
just want to say, as an American, oh, I hate using that word. As a person, I don't like the word American, to be honest with you. So, as a person who lives in the United States,
Yep.
I would like to say, congratulations, Canada, again, for kicking ass when it comes to this book debate. I love it. I think
Yep.
you all are so amazing to have created it and the discussions that go on around the world. Well, not the world, maybe just North America. I don't know. But anyway, that go around North America and talking about books, loving books, debating it, arguing about it, finding all the good things and the bad things we can say about a book or an author or a defender. It's just such an amazing time, and I am so thankful that I moved back to Michigan from California and discovered it and
Yeah.
get to talk to my wonderful Canadian friends about books, especially Tara, of course. And so, yeah, I just think it was a great year overall. I'm happy that it turned out as well as it did.
Yep. Yep. It was good considering the caliber of all 5 books.
Yeah.
It was good.
All right.
Yep.
Congratulations, Canada Reads. You did a super job. CBC
Yep.
Books and Canada Reads, I should say. And we will see you all again next year for Canada Reads. However, we will see you a lot in between as we have all kinds of interesting things coming, we hope, and some wonderful interviews lined up. And we do want to just give a shout out to our 2 new friends from the Bookkeeper in Sarnia, Ontario, an independent, fabulous independent bookstore. We're going to have a couple of them as guests soon, and we are looking forward to that.
Yep.
And
Yeah. Big, big.
I should give a huge plug.
Yes.
We will have Ali Hassan on soon, and we will be able to ask him all those questions that we might have about Canada Reads. And I'm not sure if he can answer them all, if it's
Yep.
secretive,
But we can ask them.
Absolutely.
We can
So
ask them. The worst that he can say is just, "I can't tell you." That's fine.
he'll say no comment.
Yep. No comment.
It'll be like, no comment, Senator. I have no
Yeah.
comment,
I
Senator.
was gonna
So
say that'll be the first time that will have ever been said to me. "What? No comment?" Yes, it would. Because why would it where would there be any other circumstance where someone would say that to me? "Can you pass me a spoon?" "No comment."
oh, yeah,
Sorry.
you're right. All right. Well,
Oh,
okay. So anyway, thank you so much for joining us. We hope that you, even though we had a little glitch, we hope that you enjoyed this kind of combo day 3, day 4 discussion. And next year we'll get our act together and we'll have 4 separate ones, right?
yes, exactly. I cannot now I'm, like, really anxious. I cannot wait to find it for the long list for, next year. It's
Yeah.
so exciting. Okay. Keep on reading. Thank you for joining us on our bookish journey. If you enjoyed this episode, please consider subscribing, rating, and reviewing Canada Reads American Style wherever you listen. You can connect with the podcast and Rebecca on Instagram at Canada Reads American Style and with Tara at On a Branch Reads. Until next time, keep reading.